Hi kids, Miss Rebecca here. Today we are going to start our new class, learning the New City Catechism. Here's our book. If you need a book, let me know or have your parents get in touch with me. We'll get that figured out for you. So you may be wondering, what is a catechism? Well, that's really simple. Catechism is just a series of questions and answers that we're going to learn together that are designed to help us learn and remember lots of different and very important things about our Christian faith. Along the way, we're also going to be learning memory verses, we're going to be singing some songs, and we're going to be learning about some different virtues. Now, if you want to know more about what we're talking about, just hang out with us. We're going to have fun and we're going to learn a lot. Okay, so now we're going to be having the first bit of our class time. Now, I'm sure you figured out we're sitting in my living room right now. And that's because we're not able to meet at church right now, but that's okay because we can still do class this way. So right now is also going to be Phoebe's class time. So Phoebe, why don't you come over and have a seat, honey? All right, Phoebe, I am going to ask you some questions, and I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell you a little piece, and I want you to see if you can figure out what story I'm talking about, okay? All right, are you ready? Okay. The prince's only hope was to find the owner of the glass slipper.
It's from Cinderella.
Yes, Cinderella. Okay. The rabbit's only hope was that Mr. McGregor would not find him in the watering can.
Peter's Rabbit.
Yeah, that's from The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. All right.
Because
Hi,
he's
McConnell.
Mr. McGregor.
Yeah, she knew it because I said Mr. McGregor. Okay. Now, last one. The children's only hope was Aslan.
Prince Caspian.
Okay, right
It's one of
series, wrong book. You just watched it the other night.
Narnia.
Yes, from the Chronicles of Narnia. That's from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
I
It's
didn't
okay.
see that part.
That's okay.
It was the whole movie.
Okay, so all three of those, we talked about something being somebody's only hope.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that means for it to be their only hope? It's not in your book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. Okay. Well, each character in those situations, the prince, the rabbit, and the children, each one of those characters was in a situation that required some help to escape from it. Right? Okay, so did the kids have to rely on somebody else? Like the kids in the Chronicles of Narnia? Did
Peter,
they?
Susan, Edmund, and Lucy?
Yes, did they have to rely on somebody else for help?
Only Aslan.
Yeah, they had to rely on Aslan.
That's White Witch.
Okay. So a lot of times hope involves trusting somebody, right? Yeah. So what are some kind of things? What are some kind of things that you hope for the future?
That it's good and not bad.
Yeah. Okay. So our first question in our catechism, and you can open your book now. Turn it over. There you go. So the first question in our catechism, let's turn to question 1 right here. Can you read the question? Read it out loud for me.
What is our only hope in life and death?
That's right. What is our only hope in life and death? So, for a lot of people, hope can mean different things. But, in fact, the Bible teaches us that there's only one certain hope in life and in death. And that is that we are not our own, but we belong to God and to Jesus. The truth of it is that we only have one certain hope in life and in death. And that is, we're not our own, but we belong, body and soul, to Jesus Christ. So, being adopted into God's family means that we get all the great things that come with being a part of the family. We trust God in life and death, knowing that He is with us and that He alone is where our hope is found. All right, so Phoebe, let's learn that question and answer. You ready? All right, get your book. So, question number 1. You ready to read it for us? All right, can you read it loud and clear, please?
What is our only hope in life and death?
All right, and what's the answer?
That we are not our own, but belong to God.
All right, so what is our only hope in life and death?
That
we are not
our
own,
own,
but belong to God. Okay, let's say that another time or two. You ready? What is our only hope in life and death? That we are not our own, but belong to God. All right. All right. So, what is our only hope in life and death?
That we are not our own, but belong to God.
Good job. All right. So, let's say the whole thing together. You ready? You ready? And what is our only hope in life and death? That we are not our own, but belong to God. Good job. All right, now that we have done Bible time, it's time for our virtue vision. So, what the virtue vision is, there are 10 different virtues that we're going to be learning about over the span of this course. Now, the one that we're going to be learning about today is forgiveness. And I'm going to let Miss Sherry tell us a little bit about forgiveness.
Hi guys, it's really good to kind of see you, although I can't really see you too much. Man, wasn't Miss Rebecca good? Thank you, Miss Rebecca. You are like one of the best teachers that we have ever. So thank you. Hey guys, we're going to continue on a little bit tonight with the special question that I think you should know by now after Miss Rebecca. The question of the night is, what is our only hope in life and in death? And hopefully you know the answer. The answer is that we are not our own, but we belong to God. Oh my gosh, we belong to God. Could there be anything better than belonging to God? Oh, I don't think so. I think I'd rather belong to God than to anybody else. Certainly not myself. But when you're owned by God or when you belong to God, that means something special. It means that you're different. It means that you love God enough to belong to Him. And so when you say things or you do things or you treat other people or you behave in certain ways, the best way to do all of those things is to do them nicely and to do them good and to do them in a way that makes other people say, she or he, they're different. Look at how they handled that situation. I wonder what makes them different. I like the way that they treated that person, or I like what they said. I like what they did for me. So, what makes them so different? So, when you belong to God, you get to act a little differently and get to be more friendly. So, tonight we're going to talk about something that most of us probably, in fact, I can tell you, everybody here has had to deal with in your life, and that is having to forgive someone for something that they said or something that they did or something that they placed upon you that just made you hurt, made you sad, made you angry. Sometimes when people do that to us or when we do it to someone else, it's really hard to behave correctly and to behave nicely because you've been hurt. And it's very easy to respond by wanting to hit them back or wanting to say something to them that hurts their feelings as bad as they hurt your feelings. I mean, I know I've done that a lot in my life, and there's nothing worse than after you've been hurt and then you do something to hurt them. Then you feel guilty because it wasn't the right thing to do. And so, in times when you need to think about forgiving someone, the best thing to do is to remember that you belong to God. And so now's the time when you need to think about what's the right way to handle this situation. My kids and my nieces and nephews, they tease me because they call me the apologizer, which means I apologize all the time for everything, even stupid things. When we were on a vacation once with my nieces and nephews and my kids when they were younger, we were playing a volleyball game out on the beach. And every time I would do something stupid, which happened just all the time because I'm not a very good volleyball player, but when I would try and hit the volleyball the right way or whatever, of course I'd miss or I'd hit it wrong and it would go over there and it's supposed to go over there. And I would say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Every time I did something, I'd say, I'm sorry. So much so that the kids all started laughing at me, and now I am officially the apologizer. But the thing that's different with that kind of apology versus something real, a real apology, is that I was just being silly. And I felt bad because I was making a mistake that kind of ruined the game for everybody. But there's times when you are hurt, really hurt by somebody, or that you hurt somebody else. In those times, you need to do more than just a simple, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. You need to really think about how to forgive them and ask for forgiveness from them, because that's what God would want you to do. One of the best examples of that of all time, of being a great symbol of forgiveness, was Jesus Christ himself, God's Son. Because he came to earth, he lived on earth, he did nothing wrong. The whole time he lived here, he never sinned. He never did anything wrong. But yet, when he was in his 30s, a lot of people didn't like him. A lot of people didn't like what he said, and they started treating him really badly. They said horrible things about him. They accused him of doing things he never did, so much so that they actually called for him to be killed. And that's what happened to him. I'm sure he was taken and he was killed in a crucifixion, which is a horrible way to die, on a wooden cross. And he died in a miserable way. He had gotten treated very poorly. And when he was on the cross, this is what's so amazing about Jesus. And remember, Jesus was God's Son. Was when he was on the cross and he was bruised and beaten and bloody and in great pain on the cross. You know what he said? He looked at the people who had done this to him and he prayed to God, his Father. And he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Oh my gosh, forgive them? And here he was in such a horrible way. Oh my gosh. If Jesus could do that after being treated so poorly, if he could say forgive them and he forgave them for doing that to him, that's like the greatest example of all for us. So the next time you're at school or you're around a friend or you have your parents or someone that you are with, even people you care about deeply, and they say something that maybe hurts you or they hurt you physically, maybe it's time to really remember Jesus and remember the fact that the best thing to do in this situation is to forgive them. Sometimes you can verbally forgive them by saying, I forgive you for what you did to me. But the best thing that forgiveness does is it makes you not feel guilty and it makes you not feel horrible. The person may not care that you forgive them, but you know what? You still need to do it anyway because you just never know who's watching. And someone might watch and say, wow, I like what she just said. I like what he just did. Look at how well they treated somebody. That was so kind. And gee, I wonder if they're different because they maybe belong to God. Wow, wouldn't that be great if you had people come to you and say, what makes you so different? Why did you forgive somebody when they treated you so bad, so poorly? And you go, you know what? What is our only hope in life and death? It's that we are not our own. I belong to God. Oh, I would love it. I would be so excited if you, any of you, maybe Mary, maybe Thomas, maybe Phoebe, or maybe Eli, or anybody else who's listening. If you have a situation come up in the near future where you get to forgive somebody and you choose to forgive somebody, I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me either when you see me at church or you can tell your parents and your parents can get in touch with me because I would love to know that we are all working hard to overcome being angry, being sad, and being hurt and saying, I forgive you. Because you know what? That's what Jesus did when he was treated poorly too. And I belong to God and Jesus belonged to God. So can we do that, you guys? I'm going to be waiting to hear your stories. So thank you for tonight. And we're going to go back to Miss Rebecca and you're going to continue to learn some more fabulous stuff. Thanks, you guys. Bye.
So you're probably wondering about those 47 index cards that I mentioned Sunday. So what we're going to do, that is for working on our memory verse this week, which is Romans 14, 7 and 8. So yes, technically memory verses. And that says, for none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. Romans 14, 7 and 8. Now, let's try that again. I'll say a phrase, and then you say it after me. You ready? Okay. For none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. Romans 14, 7 and 8. Good job. All right, let's say it all together one more time. You ready? For none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. Romans 14, 7 and 8. Good job. Now for those index cards. What you're going to do, you're going to take a minute. You can pause the video. We're going to put the verse up on the screen, so that's going to be the perfect time for you to pause it. You're going to take those index cards and you're going to write one word on each card. Phoebe's already done hers, so it's going to look kind of like that. You're going to have your words on the cards, and then once you've done that, then I will explain what you're going to do next. All right, here you go. All right, kids. So now you've had you've had some time to get the all the words of our verses on your cards. You should have a stack looking about like this. And now what you're gonna do, shuffle them up. Get them good and mixed. If there are two of you in the house, you can race against each other if you each have your own set of cards. If it's just you, then you can time yourself with how long it takes to get this, done, and then see if you can beat your time. So now, what we're going to do, they should be good and mixed up now. We're going to see how quickly we can get our verse written out correctly. All right, let's go. All right, there it is. For none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. Romans 14, 7 and 8. Now for that song I mentioned earlier. Today we're going to be singing Amazing Grace. And that is such a huge part of the hope that we have in God, is His amazing grace. All right, the words will be on your screen, so make sure you're singing along.
Saved a
let's go ahead and close in prayer. God, thank you so much for each of these kids and their families who participated in our class today. God, I ask that you bless each of their households. Please keep them healthy through all of this that's going on. God, thank you so much that you love each of these kids enough that you sent your son Jesus to die on the cross to save them from their sins. The same way that he came to save me from my sins. We ask that you just watch over each of these families this week and keep them close to you. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen. All right, kids, thank you so much for joining with us today, and I hope that you will remember our question and our answer this week, which all right, so you remember, what is our only hope in life and death? That we are not our own, but belong to God. All right, and also don't forget our memory verse, and that is Romans 14:7-8. For none of us lives to himself, and none of us dies to himself. For if we live to the Lord, and if we die to the Lord. So then, whether we live or whether we die, we are the Lord's. All right, have a great week. If you have anything I can pray for you about, please let me know. I love you all. Bye.